Last summer, enormous wildfires forced out 70% of the population of Canada's Northwest Territories where I live. There were airlifts, but most people drove 1,000 kilometers along our only road out past burning telephone poles and walls of smoke. The government ordered the military in to help build fire breaks. The fire burned 40,000 square kilometers, not hectares, kilometers of the NWT, which is an area slightly bigger than half of Ireland. When my family was allowed back weeks later, we felt grateful that our house and our town were still standing. Not every community was that fortunate. So, look, as everyone in this room knows, this kind of chaos is unfolding all around the world in the form of huge fires, storms, acidifying oceans, vanishing glaciers. Over the past week, just the past week, there's been the floods in Dubai. There has been drought and potential hunger related to the drought in Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and a massive heat wave a crippling heat wave is affecting hundreds of millions of people. Yes, I got the number right, in South and Southeast Asia. We all thought about climate change for years, sometimes us before many of the other fields we know. But no one really, we thought about it in terms of abstract or academic terms. No one expected it to come knocking on the door this fast and to feel it firsthand this soon. Yes, the world is mustering an international effort, but we are in a desperate race against time, against the clock, to fight climate change. Our sustainability indicators are going the wrong direction, and we've passed many of the critical boundaries of our planetary system. We are approaching climate tipping points. To keep our climate livable, we must decarbonize the economy now. So I'm going to focus on that for much of the talk because it is obviously a staggeringly huge undertaking. Decarbonizing the global economy will take an enormous amount of renewable energy sources, huge changes to infrastructure, and new sources of critical minerals. We need them badly, and we need them as soon as possible. In the words of the International Energy Agency, quote, "The path to net zero emissions is narrow. Staying on it requires immediate and massive deployment of all available clean and efficient energy technologies." In their recent paper called The Green's Dilemma, J.B. Rule and James Salzman put it well. They said, and they pointed out, delay embeds warming. And I'm drawing on their ideas. So then where does impact assessment come in? Where does just transformation come in? Well, we all know that impact assessment is a powerful tool for sustainability. It is a systematic way to make sure that we do consider the unanticipated consequences. Impact assessment obviously offers so much. It gives people a voice in projects that could affect them, which helps promote fairness and the kind of justice that we've been talking about. And of course, impact assessment reduces or prevents harm to the surrounding environment. Thorough impact assessment is not fast, it is not cheap, but most countries have decided it is worth it, which is part of why we're all here together. So good impact assessment takes time. In exchange, we get a careful and thoughtful process for making better decisions, more cautious decisions about industrial development. But here's the rub. IA examines the risks of doing things, of acting, but there are also risks of not acting. This is particularly true at this moment in our history for projects that will contribute to decarbonizing our energy. So, for example, in the United States, I'm Canadian, but in the United States in 2022, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory found that renewable energy projects would need to be developed 3 to 6 times faster than they are now to meet even moderate climate goals. Other studies agree. Yet this obviously must be done justly because the vast scale of renewable resource development we need could cause serious unintended damage, harming vulnerable ecosystems and people near the projects, as we've all been thinking about carefully since the beginning of this conference and, of course, longer. So, where are we at? We know that good assessment matters, we know good assessment takes time, and we know that time is what we really do not have. EIA is not designed to speed up infrastructure development, but on our burning planet, we need to transform our energy infrastructure fast with the urgency of a country on war footing, and the pace of impact assessment must keep up. To quote the journalist Ezra Klein, EIA was created in an era when the issue was that government was building too much with too little environmental analysis. The core problem of this era is that government is building too little in terms of decarbonizing. I'm just talking about decarbonizing. The key problem of this era is that government is building too little in defiance of all serious environmental analysis. EIA must not become an obstacle to our most important environmental goals. So if there's one sentence that sums up the essence of impact assessment for me, it's look before you leap. But imagine that you're in a car that is about to drive over the edge of a cliff. In this situation, it might be better to leap out of the car before you look, before it goes over the cliff. Considering the urgency of our global crises, is this where we're at? If rigorous impact assessment can only happen at its current rate, and that rate hinders timely decarbonization, that leads to big questions, some of which are about justice. IA is mitigating local and regional impacts of proposed renewable energy projects in the near future. Is it doing that at a pace that will contribute to more severe global cumulative harms later? Are we trading off what's fair to people around the project now against what's fair to people who will soon suffer around the world because of climate change? In other words, at this point, we seem to have only difficult choices. So I repeat my first question. Are there times when it's better to leap before you look? I was in a board meeting last week, and one of the things that came up in the discussion with the board I work for, not the IAIA board, my day job, they were looking at the huge fire breaks I showed you a picture of earlier around Yellowknife, and someone said, well, was there even environmental assessment for that? And of course, there was a wall of fire moving towards the city at high speed, and no, there was no environmental assessment for it, because in certain emergency situations, you have to weigh out the amount of caution versus the kind of crisis. So, are there times when it's better to leap before you look? My point here is, maybe there are better ways of looking, and maybe there are better ways of leaping. Maybe it's time to transform impact assessment, time to retool it, time to reboot it, because the planet is changing faster than impact assessment is. We need impact assessment to work at least as well as it has. But it also needs to be rapid enough to fit our urgent crisis. And we have to do that without sacrificing the important principles and all the lessons we've learned over 55 years of good practice. But we do need to bring together our tools and integrate our tools to make it fit for the future. So I'm not saying that just slapping a timeline on it or streamlining is going to do this. Right? I'm not suggesting we do what John Sinclair called just emaciate impact assessment. What I'm talking about is not just doing the same thing but faster. This is something else. It's about possibly redesigning or developing new approaches or coming up with new ways that we apply impact assessment. I look around this room and I see people from all around the world, ranging from seasoned experts to young professionals, and each one of you has your own perspectives. We need an infusion of fresh ideas, like more ferocious scoping, or more use of credible strategic environmental assessment, or more indigenization of the impact assessment process. There are different ideas out there that we could use, but we need your ideas. I'm asking you to please get creative, reach way outside the box, share your visions, get on the IAIA hub, and share your solutions. Particularly, we have a Fit for Future initiative that is looking for exactly these kinds of ideas now. Remember also that impact assessment is only one tool for reaching towards a sustainable future. Our approaches are valuable to other fields, like sustainable finance. They need to know what impact assessment can offer. We need to cross-pollinate. So IAIA is reaching out to other organizations, like the Global Commons Alliance, that need to be part of the effort. My big message to you is don't give up. It's easy to feel like a small cog in a big bureaucratic machine when you work in impact assessment. The scale of the crisis could not be more daunting, but you're all part of the IAIA community. We have the opportunity to contribute powerfully. Each of you has the ability to be a leader in your own work. This is a time to step up, find your vision, and inspire and empower those around you. Because we don't want impact assessment to get in the way of decarbonizing. We want to be part of the solution. Thank you.